Welcome to the Co-Host Bros Podcast, where we break down everything short-term rentals, entrepreneurship, and building a profitable hospitality business. Whether you're a host, investor, or property manager, we share real strategies, real insights, and real experiences to help you scale smarter and grow faster. Let's dive in.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Co-Host Bros Podcast. My name is Matt Cott. I'm here with my good buddy, Austin Spitz, and today we have a phenomenal guest for you, Mr. Mike Reilly. What is going on, Mr. Reilly?
I'm doing awesome, man. Just hanging out Friday afternoon. Should get a beer for this.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a fun conversation.
You didn't get the memo. Oh,
no.
Damn.
I'll text Sierra. Maybe she'll run one up for me.
Run me a beer real quick. Austin just changed his gum. He can't have his beer. He had to switch it out.
But let's jump right into it, man. Pleasure to have you on the show, man. And I think a lot of people at this point are pretty aware of who you are and what you do. But, if they're not, if you don't mind, give us a quick rundown of who's Mike Reilly. What's he all about? What's he do?
Yeah, man, for sure. Let's see. Husband to my wife, Sierra. We got married in 2020 here in New Bern, North Carolina. So it's a small town in Eastern North Carolina. We got two little kids, Palmer, who's 3, and Woods is 2. They're crazy and spend a lot of time with them and play a lot of golf. But I bought my first short-term rental in 2020 with Sierra in Brevard, North Carolina, which is a small town just south of Asheville. And in 2020, Sierra and I were both working in big tech jobs. I worked for Google. She worked for another big tech company. And we both were traveling a lot. In 2019, we did like 141 nights in hotels. And so I was looking for a way to supplement some of my income and her income too. She wanted to do real estate full time. So we bought short-term rentals. We got 3 of them in 2020, and then kind of got addicted to those 5-star reviews that we got, and just like loved hosting and like the guest side of it, and obviously the investing side of it was really good too. In 2020, rates were great, and then in 2021, we kind of ran out of money, and we're like, all right, what do we do now? We want to continue to grow this, but we don't have any more cash. We didn't want to borrow any money from family or partner on anything. So we decided to do co-hosting, and now into full service property management, but we managed 28 properties in North Carolina. And then I left Google in 2022 and she left her job in 2020, actually, after we bought that second property. And so, I spend probably 5 hours a week on that business. She helps out with that as well. I got a great team that helps manage it. And then I spend a lot of time coaching and teaching and giving away, free value in the Facebook group, that sort of thing. And just connecting with other people in the industry and hanging out with my kids and playing a little golf on the side too.
Yeah, that's awesome that you spend, only 5 hours on your business, and then the rest of the time you're pouring into other people, coaching and stuff like that. So that's a great topic right there. Is kind of the STR secrets community. Now, neither Matt and I are in the community, but I do want to get into that. How has that group kind of impacted and shaped you? How has it impacted your life, your business, your family? Because full transparency, I've met a lot of people that come out of that program, and man, most of them are straight killers. Like whatever you guys are doing over there, it's good. And pretty much all of them, I'm like, I've seen them go from, A to Z, and they've done a fantastic job. So I guess tell me a little bit about secrets and kind of, how that's impacted your life.
Yeah, for sure. The founder, Mike Sjogren, he was the one who originally, I really connected with. I connected with his story because he was, he had a sick kid in the hospital, and had to leave the hospital to go back to a desk job. And, to me, I was like, that's got to be the most gut wrenching thing. And that's why he started a short-term rental business. And And so I saw how he was able to automate processes and build teams and stuff like that too. And I just really connected with him. And so that, he mentored me and really showed me how to leave Google just through building this business the right way. And then I love sharing that with other people too. I think I was born to be a coach and help other people in some way. And it's funny. Like a lot of folks will tell me, hey, you've helped me so much with your Facebook Live videos, or you helped me so much with your weekly coaching call, that sort of thing, or the one-on-ones. But really, like, I strongly believe the teacher or the coach actually learns more than the student a lot of times, because you just get to see so many different views and so many different challenges and just like problem solve through those. And I guarantee I learn more than what I teach, which is pretty cool. So, and it's just STR Secrets is a really cool community of other people that are all, trying to leave their W-2s and build a business and do it for, most of us are doing it for family reasons too. Just being able to spend more time with family or buy more investments for a vacation house like Matt, you did. I don't know how is your vacation house, Matt? I know
it's rebuilt now, but
rebuilt. All
yeah,
right, cool.
Yeah, you and I talked about it before I even opened it, so you helped me as well. So yeah, it's brand new and better than ever. Thank you, insurance company.
Yeah. Went through that this past fall too, which was learned a lot about insurance.
Yeah, I saw you had some tree issues, huh? Falling on the house.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So
that's something. If you don't know, you don't know. Like it just like you don't know. I mean, people just started calling me that I knew, and they were like, "Hey, I've done this before. Do this, this, and this." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. Thanks so much." Because I'm over here like I don't know what to do. Like I have no idea. I'm like, got to pay the mortgage, can't rent the house. Like the roof is gone, everything's destroyed. What do I do? So I mean, community has really been very helpful, especially with things like that, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
and it's anything too. I think whether you're trying to lose weight or put on weight or learn a new instrument or learn a new language, like if you're just around other people that are doing it and doing it well, the community is it's a big part of it. It's hard to do stuff alone.
Yeah, a lot of it's I think perspective too, like because something that could happen to you might be like a huge problem, and then when you reach out to your community, and maybe people that are a little farther, down the road, they're like, "Oh yeah, that's not a big deal. Like that shit's happened to me twice already. This is what you do." And it's kind of like the further you get along, your problems get bigger and bigger, but the mindset thing is like you're more equipped and more handled to do those things, right? I mean, that's kind of the way I see it. So like Matt might have been super stressed this time, but the next time, if it happens in that situation, you're just gonna be like, I've been on this ride before. It's not as
piece
bad.
of cake. I'll know exactly what to do, man.
Exactly.
I don't even have to worry about it. Yeah. I'm like, I'm gonna start picking out furniture now, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not as stressful now. Like I think about that every day. It's funny you said that because I was thinking the other day, and I was like, man, if a hurricane hit my house tomorrow, I'd be like, fuck it, piece of cake. I'll just make some phone calls, get it done, and we'll do it all over again.
And that was legitimately the worst case scenario of buying a short term rental in a beach market, right? Is a hurricane hit it, and that's what happened.
Well, my guest didn't check in, so I was almost at the worst case scenario. They called me and asked if they can cancel. I told them that's fine. So don't worry about it. And then the roof came off, so worked out. That would have been terrible. Very terrible.
Nice.
So yeah. So I want to backtrack actually. So you said that Sierra wanted to get into real estate and you ended up getting into short-term rentals, but what caused you to get into short-term rentals? Like what, real estate is vast, right? There's a million different things. And I think once you love something about real estate, you just love real estate in general. But what was like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to buy a house and rent it out. Or did you just buy a house and you go, oh, well, now I got to cover the mortgage, so I'm going to try to rent it out. Like, what was your epiphany on that?
It was kind of weird. And I've told this story to a couple people in the mastermind. So Sierra and I were, like I said, we were doing a ton of nights in hotels, and I was trying to figure out, all right, how can I add some more supplemental income without like I didn't want to learn stocks or anything like that, but how can I build some side income? And I didn't know anything about like the short-term rental tax loophole. Like nobody really talked about that back then in 2020. At least I wasn't aware of any. But there was this guy that reached out to. He was actually one of my clients. He was a operations manager at a bank, and he said, "Hey man, I've got this thing that I've been doing, and I've been making some money on the side, and I built up a pretty good business, and I'm hopefully going to leave the bank here next year. Like, are you interested in learning more about it?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And so I hopped on a call with him, and he actually brought his mentor on. And his mentor was like pressing me with some questions of like, "Hey, what do you want? What's your goal? Like, how much side income are you looking to make? Like, why do you want to do it? You know, like that sort of thing." And then he made me read The Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki, and just think about more about being like a business owner or an investor in a business or your business. And we had like 3 or 4 calls, and he pressed us with a lot of like deep questions that nobody had really asked me before, like what I really wanted to get out of life. Like, what's your 5-year plan? What's your 10-year plan? What's your 30-year plan? And I was like 26 at the time. So I had never thought about this stuff ever. And it turns out, like after the 4th call, he pitched me on doing Amway, which was like network marketing. And I was like, all right, I don't want to sell like shampoos to my family, but he like gave me a lot of clarity, and I had to think about a lot of the things that I wanted. So at that time, Sierra was doing her mom was doing really well in real estate. She just retired as a school teacher and was doing really well in real estate. And so Sierra was really interested in that too. And so she was like, "Well, how about real estate?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'd love to learn more." And then I heard I had a buddy that was doing a podcast, and he also recommended Bigger Pockets to me. And so I started listening to Bigger Pockets, and that's kind of where it all started, of like learning about investing in real estate. And Jocko Willink was one of the first episodes I listened to. Chris Voss was another episode that I listened to. So like two of my favorite people, like favorite influencers, I started listening to them and started listening to Bigger Pockets more. And then somehow I got to a podcast that Mike Sjogren was on, and I listened to it, really connected with him. And then, I'd stayed in plenty of Airbnbs before. I never ever thought about, buying one, because I was like, that's what rich people do, I guess. And and then started talking to Mike about this, and he was like, "What's your main goal?" I was like, "I just want to make an extra $2,000 a month, like an extra $2,000 a month would be great." And I think I can do that with long-term rentals, because that's what Bigger Pockets was mainly about, long-term rentals and how to do that. And I was like, all right, I need 10 doors. If I can make $200 a door. And then Mike was like, "Well, what if you had one Airbnb and you could make that like in one Airbnb?" I was like, "Well, that's better. And you can use it as a family. You guys can go there." We had 2 dogs. We still have the 2 dogs. So that's when I was like, all right, dude, let's do it. And I signed up for STR Secrets and for him to coach me. And that was in January of 2020. We were under contract in April of 2020 on our first one, and went live in June. And then that thing's been cash flowing about $3,500 a month on average since, aside from the 6 months of the hurricane. But that was our first foray into like, it was a $260,000 house that did 101,000 in gross revenue in the first year with a 3% interest rate. It's like, all right, this is cool. Like I can do more of these. And so I got addicted to it after 1 month of seeing those payouts come in.
So your goal started at 2K a month. Looking back, would you say that you started too small, or would you say that your goals had just kind of elevated over time when you realized what you were capable of doing, right? Because you left your W-2 job. So if we go from 2K a month to now leaving your W-2 job, that's a big jump in like what your goals were when you originally started. So how did your goals scale over time? Or you're just like, dude, I think I'm capable of so much more. You mentioned Jocko Willink. So you're listening to these personal development podcasts. So you're at this point evolving as a human being. So how has your goals changed from that 2K to leaving your job to now even bigger goals?
just being around other people that are doing bigger things. I mean, thinking about $2K a month back then, I was like, that's a lot of money. Like that's a lot. And at that time too, I was like, all right, is there something else that I would like to do more? Cause I didn't really like tech sales that much, we had to travel a lot and tech was kind of boring to me. Like I didn't really know what I was truly working on, cloud and, the ins and outs of some of that stuff. So, then started seeing other people have a lot of success. And, I bought 3 properties in 2020. And then in 2021, I didn't have any more money. And I saw other people doing co-hosting and building really cool businesses. And I was like, all right, well, I can do that too. I'm going to set a goal to hit 5 properties in 2021. I get 5 co-hosting properties. And then from there, I was like, well, Sierra was pregnant with our firstborn. It's like, all right, when she turns 1, I'm going to be at 20K a month and going to leave my W-2 so I could spend more time with her and spend more time building the business and really just like own my time instead of having to go to Alpharetta, Georgia all the time for work, which no offense to people who live there. I hated Alpharetta, Georgia. It was not a fun place to go every month.
When you're forced to go to the same place all the time, same shitty place, same shitty food, it just gets worse and worse, right? So
yeah, and you got to go for work too, which is like
and you're like, it's even worse, and you're like, oh, same hotel, I don't want to be here, same place.
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
I have to go to Oklahoma a lot. It's terrible. Hate it.
Yeah, but it's just being around other people that are doing bigger things, man. It's that's literally that was it. Like my goals can just keep getting, my goals still keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So, my goal is to sell the business for 5 million in the next 5 years and then take that and invest in more real estate. So that's what we're working towards right now. And 2 years ago, if somebody told me that was going to be my goal, I'd be like, good luck.
So
I think that's great. I mean, I think that's great.
Matt.
I mean, I personally have seen you grow a lot since I've talked to you 2 years ago, and I think you've seen me grow a lot as well. And I think it's great. And I think it's about being around people. And what you're doing is just, it's badass, and you're just helping people. You helped me yesterday answer one of my questions on your live yesterday. So I'm going to work on that letter to get that out of the booking.com issue. But so your goal is you want to sell the business for 5 million and then just reinvest into real estate, like more passively, or like buy an apartment.
Or like at that time, Palmer will be, she'll be 7 or maybe 8, and then Woods will be 6, and then we'll probably have a third, maybe a fourth, who knows? And so just being able to have more time. And if you think about it, that 5 million, we may give away some equity or something like that too. But you take that and get a 10% return on that, it's $500,000 a year in income. That's more passive. So whether it's investing in more real estate or diversifying it, we can definitely live off 500,000 a year. But then I'm definitely going to be starting other businesses too. But I'm really focused right now on just the brand. And, I don't want to just sell the business in 5 years and just be completely done with it. I still wanted to have it an identity and have, quality control and still serve really good homeowners, still serve really good guests that can last for a long time. I don't want to grow it to like, 500, 600 units. I want like 100 really good ones. And I want a small team too that is really, really solid. And I think we have that now. And we can double in size right now, I think. But doubling again and getting to 100 is just going to be developing really good people and staying really true to our brand. So that's what I'm focused on now.
Yeah. Can you, I heard that you talked about this on the Secrets podcast the other day. Can you talk about for your business, you're looking at getting it to a certain milestone and potentially selling in the next 3 to 5 years. And I was going to see if you could share with our listeners, how are these property management businesses valuated? Do you know, like, kind of at what scale, at what level? And once you hit 50 properties in this number, it's measured this way. I'm not an expert on it. I kind of know, but I heard you talking about it. And if you're willing to share that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I'm no expert on it either. I mean, I have not sold a business, but I have talked to a lot of people that have, and what they've told me is like there's really three ways right now that property management business are being evaluated. And I'm not sure on co-hosting businesses. I'm not sure if those are the same. I'm sure there's differences in contracts, but Jacoby Olin, he owns C2G Advisors. He was telling me this information. So if you go look it up, or look up his website, you'll see he's the largest short-term rental property management broker, business broker in the United States. So there's really three different ways. So the first way is like if you have really less than 50 listings, I mean it can go up or down, but it's just 1x of annual contract value. So let's say you have one property that brings in $100,000 a year and you charge 20%, your management fee is 20,000, 20K a year. You can typically sell that contract for about 20K. And a lot of the times there's stipulations that go with that. Like I'll give you 10K down, but then after the first year you get the other 10K, that sort of thing. So you can sell, you can sell 10 contracts for, let's say 20K each and, make 200 grand. If you wanted to do that. Now that's kind of the first way that, that property management companies are being sold. The second bigger way is based on earnings. So earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and somebody help me with the A. It's basically EBITDA. So companies, if you're 50 properties or more, you can typically sell for like 2 to 7x EBITDA. So that's kind of how a lot of the bigger management companies are being sold. And there's a lot of different stipulations with that too. Like, are you on auto renewals for your clients? Do you have really solid contracts that have really solid, terms? Are the contracts transferable if you sell your company, that sort of thing? And there's typically a long escrow period of a year or two. So, you'll if you wanted to sell your company and you agree on a certain sales price with a buyer, let's say it's $1 million. A lot of the times, again, it's like 500 or 600K up front, and then after a year or two, it's the rest. And there's certain KPIs that you have to hit during that period too. And those KPIs can be retaining clients, could be adding clients, it could be retaining good people too. Could be like, hey, you got to have a 3-year contract with an operations manager or, a team. They also evaluate tech stack, bookkeeping capabilities, like a lot of stuff like that. But Jacoby said like really the number one thing for that size is just having really clean books and being able to forecast your income as well. I probably talk about that every single Thursday. Facebook Live is like, do you guys know what your management income is going to be in March and April and May and June? And 90% of people don't. But it's very simple, just spreadsheet math of, all right, if property A is going to bring in 100 grand a year, or let's say 120 to keep it even, that means it's 10K a month throughout the year, right? But in the summer, you're probably going to be making a lot more of that. So what do you expect to make for all your properties in July, in August? But then, like Matt, like you're probably not making a lot in December, January, and February at the beach, right? So being able to carry cash with you as well through the slow season is really important. That's where I see a lot of people struggle, is they're not carrying enough cash. And I think we've kind of seen arbitrage die because of that. People are just spending cash on acquiring more leases and furniture instead of carrying cash through the slow seasons. So, but yeah, just to sum it up, it's something that I wasn't thinking about a year ago, but now, it's a focus I have every day. Really, it's like how do I increase the value of our company?
Yeah. That's awesome. I think we're in similar situations in regards to growth and where we're trying to get over the next 3 to 5 years. So one thing that we're currently going through is defining our specific buy box of what our ideal client, our ideal property looks like, what kind of people we want to serve. Um, do you have something like that? And tell us how it's kind of evolved over time, because your buy box when you first started managing, I can guarantee is not the same as the clients you're taking on these days. So what does that look like to get you to where you're trying to go?
Yeah, for sure. So our buy box is properties that can bring in $80,000 a year or more. And there, I did add something to the buy box last week. I had my buddy Mark Palmieri on the podcast, and he said, I don't take on any properties unless I would let my mother or grandmother stay there. So I'm adding that to the list as well. But it's got to be within 45 minutes of a drive for me and my team. The properties that we're adding here. So I'm basically growing in two markets. I'm growing at the beach, which is about 30 minutes from me, and then in the mountains of North Carolina too, which is I have got 6 properties in Brevard and 1 market out there, and I've got a really good local team there too. So those are the 2 markets that I'm mainly focused on. So yeah, and they're typically 3 bedrooms or more, and then the owner, kind of avatar, which is really important too, is typically a busy professional or an investor that wants to be hands off and just wants a check every month by the 15th and an owner statement. And that's really who I work with. And I've turned down a lot of people. I've accepted, like you said, like I've worked with a lot of different homeowners too that wanted to be more hands on, or maybe even relied on that income for them and their family. And to me, it's not really a good fit because they really want to micromanage, learn all this stuff, and I just don't. I don't really have that much time, and I know there's other people that may serve them better. So I typically pass them on to either people in the mastermind or other referrals that I know. So
Yeah, I think that's pretty similar to what we're doing, and it is tough with those people that is like their second home or their vacation home, especially if they're visiting
Mhm.
all the time. And it's like no matter how good your quality is and stuff like that, like you are running a vacation rental business, right? Like shit happens, things get broken, and you can't keep track of every spoon and fork, right? So those clients are a little bit more challenging, and I think that the ideal, is kind of the investor, avatar, but I think for me personally from experience of signing clients, it's something you don't know until you just say yes, and then you keep saying yes to get started, and then you realize what you don't want through trial and error. So that's kind of how I learned like, hey, a lot of these second homeowners are a lot more difficult than this other investor over here that I never hear from. He just wants to see the statement and what his P&L looks like. And it's like you don't know that unless you get started, right?
Yep, yep,
Yeah.
100%.
I'm trying to think. So let's go back to your mastermind group. So in your mastermind group, what's like maybe one of the, because we have a lot of listeners, and I would say they would be between, they're probably co-host property managers between 5 and say 20 properties, and or they're just learning, trying to get started. What's some of the biggest mistakes that you see in beginner hosts that maybe inhibit them from getting to where they're trying to go? Anything?
Definitely the number one is trying to do everything themselves. 100%. That's the number one, and it's tough to let go a little bit. Um, and not do everything because you want to learn everything at the beginning. And I made this mistake. I continue to make these mistakes as I like continue to get bigger and bigger and grow. But you know, at the end of the day, what you really need to do and what I really need to do and all of us need to do is like get very clear on what is your ideal day look like as a business owner in your business. What do you really want to be focused on? And hire people to do the rest. So if you really want to do guest services and stay very active with your guest and stay very active with your owners, focus on that and then hire out revenue management and bookkeeping and like all the other things. And just make a list of those other things, build your company playbook, but hire out the rest and hire good people and pay them well. But focused on the things that you want to focus on. If you don't like the guest services, or you don't like sales and going out, and you really like the operations and you really like the back end tech, find somebody that you can partner with that really likes the sales part. Chris Petsy is a great example. He and I started in the mastermind like in 2020, around the same time. We both had, a couple properties in the first year. And then we would join these calls with Mike, the mastermind calls, which are every Tuesday. And he struggled with adding clients and networking. And then all of a sudden he jumped on the call one day and he said, "Hey guys, there's a competitor in my area that I reached out to on Instagram. He's got like 14 properties, but I reached out to him and I just asked if he wanted to grab a beer and pick his brain." And the next week he came back and he said, I think I want to partner with Sean. Sean is his name. And we were both like, are you just like trying to cop out and not like do sales anymore and just let him do sales? Like, Chris, you're just copping out here. And 3 years later, they got 83 properties. They're the number one property management business in the Seacoast area. And so Chris really focused on who, not how, and finding the right person for that role. And they're thriving, they're flourishing. So, tactically, some of the things that I see people mess up with at the beginning is bookkeeping. So like trying to do bookkeeping all on their own, especially for co-hosting or for property management, like trying to do trust accounting all on their own. I did this mistake. I had like 13 units. I was doing bookkeeping for all of them with me and my VA, and it was taking me 30 hours a month, 40 hours a month while I still had a W-2. So if you're starting out and you're not a bookkeeper, you're not a CPA, and even if you are, you should just hire somebody to take over that for you. But yeah, just trying to figure it all out. And it's tough when you don't have a lot of money and you're just trying to grow the business. But you really got to find the right people. And if it's a certain task, or if it's, a mastermind that can help teach you those things as well, like put confidence in people who have done what you want to do, and then just go execute on that plan. So.
Hey everybody, are you looking for your next property, or are you trying to comp out some co-host clients? I got you a discount for STRIQ. It's the perfect software to check that out. It's like the Zillow of property finding. I got you 10% off a monthly membership if you use Co-host Bros 10. I got you 15% off a quarterly membership if you use Co-host Bros 15. And I got you 20% off an annual membership with Co-host Bros 20. Don't forget, there's a 7-day free trial before you're even charged, so you can check it out for free. You can check it out and sign up in the show notes. There's a link in the show notes. And make sure you use one of those codes, and that way you can save some money and check it out for free. Thank you, everybody, and back to the show.
Yeah, I think to allude to what you're saying is very similar situation happened to me. I had my property management company managing about 10 units, doing everything. Opportunity came about to merge with somebody else. We talked for months, talked for a while, and it ended up working out a deal for them and for me, kind of maybe like the reverse situation that you're in, where you're looking for somebody to come in and maybe do whatever it is that you're trying to fill. Well, I was wearing all these hats and doing everything, and my business was running really well, but a lot of the stuff in this industry is not enjoyable and it's not fun. So I was like, okay, with doing this, I can be a percentage partner instead of owning the whole pie, smaller piece of a bigger pie. But I get to come in, instead of doing 80% of shit that I don't like or trying to figure it out and delegate it. I'm now at a point where I come in and get to be the piece of this puzzle, but I get to do 100% of what I'm good at, which is further going to improve the business drastically because I'm good at it and I enjoy doing it. And that's kind of like a rocket fuel to what they were looking for. So when you say that, it kind of makes me think of like you're in that situation where you might maybe give up equity or something like that, but you're going to find the who that can get you to that 3 to 5 year plan faster. And I was the who in that situation for the business that I'm a part of now, if that makes sense.
100%. And it can be tough too to make those decisions, but it's at the end of the day, it's trusting your gut, knowing what you want 3 years, 5 years from now. That's the most important part, is just having that clarity.
Yeah, and making sure the people that you're getting on the bus with are aligned with the same mission that you're aligned with, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you're like, hey, this is what I'm looking for, and this is what I want it to look like to 3 to 5 years. If that looks good for you, and this is a good fit, and this is my who, then maybe it is a good, you know, good fit there.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So, is it my turn, Austin? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I hogged all the questions.
Um,
My bad, dude.
no, so I mean, we're getting pretty complex, but like for the people who are trying to, like, let's just say, get their first co-host deal, what would be? And I know you share this in your trainings and things like that, but what would you feel is the best way for somebody who's just getting started to get their first co-host deal?
Best way to get your first co-host deal is through family, friends, loved ones. So what I tell people is sit down and write out 20 people on a notepad that you know, or just go through your phone and write out 20 people that you know that you haven't connected with in a while, or that you talk to all the time, and give them a call, check in with them. You know, hey Matt, how's life? Like, how's your place in Houston or in Galveston? You know, what's new? How's the family? You know, it's been a while since we last chatted. You know, how's your sports team doing? Like, just check in with them. And then at some point they're going to check in with you too. And they're just gonna be like, hey Mike, how are things? And, and then that's when you give them your elevator pitch and just be like, hey, I started this new business. It's, you know, I've been hosting my Airbnb for a while, but I'm going to start a co-hosting business and co-host for other people. And I'm really excited about it. And I'm just looking for my first client. So, and then they're going to ask you a couple questions. There may be some people that are like, oh, Matt, you're kind of crazy, man. Or Mike, you're kind of crazy. Like, are you sure you really want to do that? And then you're going to have to take that a little bit and understand it's just from a place of love. But you do that. And then you also ask them, hey, do you know anybody that owns short-term rentals in the area? Do you know anybody that is in real estate in your network that you can introduce me to? And then just see if they have any recommendations. And you do that with 20 people. That's what, if you do it for 10 days, it's 2 people a day. I guarantee you'll have some sort of leads to start working. And so start there. And it's also easy to get like your elevator pitch out and get better at that too. Cause you know, most people have a negative connotation of like sales and like acquiring their first one. And, you know, they don't want to be pushy. They don't want to be sleazy, because we've all worked with like a bad car salesman or furniture salesperson. But at the end of the day, there's so many properties out there that are underperforming that need your help. And if you're educated on hosting and hosting the right way and doing revenue management and marketing properties the right way, like, you're going to be helping that first person, even though it's your first property. Guarantee you know more than the operations manager at Bacasa. So that's what I would say. Call family, friends, loved ones, and just pick up the phone.
Man, I think a lot of the problem with sales is that a lot of people don't come from sales backgrounds, so a lot of people aren't confident in sales, right? They're not confident in picking up the phone and calling people they don't know, whatever the case may be. How would you tell them to gain more confidence in doing those kinds of tasks that they're not normally doing, right? I mean, some people Austin came from a sales background. That's what Austin does, right? So that's his thing. Austin can sell me ice and I'm an Eskimo. But I mean, how do you think they would gain that confidence to help them, make those sales with the people that I don't know?
Some people that just have like kind of a knack for sales, or maybe they're really social and can really connect with anybody. But all sales is just facilitating desire. That's really, really all it is. So, you know, you're connecting with somebody that has a need, that has a desire, and that you can help them. And it's creating a win-win situation. Sales is never a sale is never a win-lose situation. Like, it's typically a win-win situation. So, and also if you think inside as well, like, if you're married right now, like, you did some sales work to acquire your spouse and acquire the person that you wanted to spend your life with. Friends as well. If you've got friends that you've made, you did some work to get them to like you somehow. And it's through, being yourself, but then also creating win-win situations where you're enjoying the relationship, they're enjoying the relationship. And that's all sales is at the end of the day. You're showing your value for your company and what you do, and they have a need for their home to be rented out. So it's just a little bit of a mindset shift of you're actually here to really just help that person. And, there are people out there that don't know that they need help or that aren't in the right, place to accept help right now. My first job out of college was cold calling IT managers to get them to book a meeting to talk about their data storage in their data centers. And I knew nothing about it. And I had people that said that they were going to sue me and sue my company, and that I was going to hell, and that just I was scum and everything too. And those took me back a little bit, but I'm like, at the end of the day, like I was coming from good intentions. I was just doing my job and seeing if they needed help. And there were a lot of people that I did set meetings with that I did help, and I help them save their company thousands of dollars and a lot of time too. So it's a numbers game at the end of the day too. It's just how many people that you talk to, and not taking it personally when somebody else decides to give you the middle finger through the phone as well. Cause you also never know like what every single person is fighting some sort of battle internally that we know nothing about. So coming from a place of empathy of everyone's going through something right now that we don't really know anything about. I got a cold call yesterday from an agent in Brevard. It sounded like a really young lady, and man, it was a bad cold call, but I stayed on the phone with her for probably 6 or 7 minutes, gave her some tips at the end, and just said, keep calling, like keep pushing. You're gonna do it. You're gonna be okay. So it's a skill. Sales is a skill that if you persist enough in it, you can do really well for yourself, not only in like your profession, but if you can learn sales skills to acquire really good friends or, acquire things that you want out of life, you're going to be in a really good place.
Yeah. I like the way that you said that. I think the way you said it just kind of explains it in a different way for people. You had to, get your wife to marry you and make friends. And I wouldn't be surprised if that girl calls you back in about a week and tells you she got a deal because what you told her, that you helped her out. So that's pretty cool. I want to go back to, how did you get your first co-host deal? Did you do the same thing? Is that what you did, or someone came to you? Or
no, there's two. My first two deals were funny. So my buddy Mike Elefante, he and I were kind of masterminding together. We were both had our first. We were living in Nashville, Tennessee. We both had our first short-term rentals, and I told him I wanted to do co-hosting, and he was like, yeah, man, that sounds cool. I'm going to do this social media stuff and do like some YouTube videos. I don't know if you guys know Mike, but
yeah, his social media stuff's good. I actually met him the first conference I went to, and I was like, oh, I follow you on TikTok. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, he blew up on TikTok, but
he did.
Anyways, I told him that, and then he called me one day and was like, hey man, I've got a friend, actually a coworker of Jill's that has a cabin in Banner Elk, like Sugar Mountain, and Vicasa's managing it for him, and they're doing a terrible job, and he wants us to manage it. But I told him I don't want to do property management or co-hosting. So I wanted to see if you would do it for him, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. So came through a referral, and then the second one. This is another funny story. The first property that we bought, there's 3 houses on that road, and one of the houses sold, and so we were there at that time when they closed on the sale of the home, or the purchase of the home, and they for whatever reason we were leaving town, and I had a 6-pack of beer in my car that I didn't drink, and which is unusual. And so I dropped it off at their I know, right? I dropped it off at their house, and I had my wife's Keller Williams agent, real estate card. And I just wrote on it. I said, "Welcome to the neighborhood." And I dropped it off and just rang the doorbell and then left, ding dong ditch. And he wasn't there anyways. And then I got a call the next day, and it was Rob. Rob's his name. And he said, "Hey, thanks so much for the beer. Like I loved it. And thanks for the nice welcome. We love this street." And then we got to talking, and he said, "Hey, do you know any short-term rental property managers? Because I want to rent this out when I'm not using it." And I was like, "Yeah, matter of fact, I do." So that was my second one. We started working together in 2021 as well, while I was still working at Google. That was, those first two deals were 7 hours from where I lived. I was living in Nashville at the time. And like for whatever reason, I guess it was my confidence that I knew I could manage from afar. Like neither of them ever asked, like, how I was able to manage property from 7 hours away. So I know that's a common like misconception of you have to be local. You really don't. You just have to have the confidence and the right team in your market.
So for anyone who's listening that maybe they live in an area where it's not a good vacation rental market or whatever the case may be, they want to get started and their market is 7 hours away. What tips or what advice do you have for those people, so they can execute from 7 hours away? What's the big what are some key notes that they need to have or people in place to be able to do that successfully?
The right team, having the right team locally that has eyes and ears on the property. So you don't have to, obviously. That's going to be the biggest thing. And then just, the confidence to tell people like why you have a team there and why you're not local. But then how you differentiate yourself from the local property managers, even, the guy I was talking about that I dropped off the beer off at his house. He talked to two other local property managers and he was like, "Yeah, they're good, but they're bigger. And I just had a better feeling about working with you. It's more personalized." And he still says that. Now, even though I have 4 people on my team now, he's still like, "Hey, I'm so happy how personalized it is. And every guest has good reviews and talks about how good of a host you were." And in reality, it's a lot of tech and my team in the background. But they're executing on our SOPs and what we have in place. So a really good team. And I have local co-hosts now. So I have people that do pre-stay checks on the property. So making sure the house looks good and is staged well. And, we got the music on, and typically I put YouTube on the TV or have my team put YouTube on the TV with like a fireplace lit up and like some calming music so that when they walk in, it's really nice. And, the lights are turned on, so it's not completely dark. And, we respond really fast if they have issues, that sort of thing. Just really helps when you're 7 hours away.
How are you structuring that with the people on the ground? Are you paying them per visit? Or are you paying them a percentage or?
No, it's a monthly fee. So I have one here that helps me out. She does a lot more. She does a lot of the break fix stuff too. She'll coordinate with contractors and stuff like that. And just pay her monthly. And then same thing with the one in the mountains, pay her monthly as well. And it's really not that much work either. Both of them are cleaners in the industry. They don't clean for me, but they go behind my cleaners to make sure that, the cleaners did a good job. And then also the house looks good and there's the hospitality touch too. So, and then I just look at it from a profitability standpoint. So really, I don't want my labor to be anywhere more than like 35% of income. And that includes revenue management too. I got a revenue manager on my team, but if I stay under 35% of labor, my tech is, software is usually taken care of by the tech fee that I charge. So, I can maintain 65% profit, on a monthly basis just because I'm able to manage my labor costs.
What do you charge for your tech fee?
$140 a month is the tech fee. So I'm 20% of rental revenue. I keep the cleaning income, and cleaning fee. And then that's my expense as well. And then, it's $140 a month. And so if you think about it, it's about $79 a month per property in bookkeeping. And then hospitable is $16. Price Labs is like $12. Lock software is $5. let's see, host fee is $5 a month, and then occupancy tax is like $20 a month. So that comes out to be like $138 a month, and I charge $140. So really, my software cost per property is covered by that tech fee, and that also helps too. Like if there's a hurricane comes through, and I can't get any bookings for a property, or let's say an owner wants to stay at the property for the entire month because they want to enjoy it. I'm not losing money that month.
Yeah, that's great. I charge a tech fee too, so I find it very beneficial. Harder to pitch, but beneficial to me at least.
Yeah.
So I just have one more quick question. I know that you got to get going and your kid's probably gonna get up soon. So you're full-fledged property management. So you're doing like trust accounting and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Are you using any trust accounting software or?
Yeah. VR platform. So Ben Coons at Keystone Bookkeepers, that dude saves me so much time every month. I used to do it on my own, and like my mom's an accountant, so I had her teach me. And I thought, dude, I thought I was hustling, and like, oh, I love these numbers, and figuring out where all this stuff goes, and looking at my profit every month, and it was a waste of time. It was good to learn, but now I just review the P&L every month and approve owner statements, and that's pretty much it.
That's awesome. Well, dude, I really thank you for coming on. You've taught me a lot, and you continue to teach me a lot every single day. And I mean, I really appreciate it. I know Austin appreciates it since he's the one who hooked us up here today.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
You guys going to WealthCon?
I am. I don't know if Austin is or not.
Yeah, I hadn't bought my tickets yet, but
on the spot.
I probably should, huh? I don't know. When is it again? Is it in June?
July.
July.
Yeah, I've gone to last 3 years, so like
he has an excuse though. He's having his first baby in April, so he could just be like, I just had a baby, I can't go.
That's true.
No, that's an excuse. It's an excuse, but I might lean into that excuse depending on how bad I want to go when everyone asks me. But if I really wanted to go, I could find a way to go. But if you hear me saying, "Oh, I got a baby," it's just me making an excuse.
I'll DM his wife. Just tell me if he says that.
It's a good card to pull. You can pull that for a while. I'm still pulling it.
Yeah, you get a long time, man. You get a long time.
Yeah, it's like I'm really looking forward to leveraging that, like getting out of things that I didn't want to go to in the beginning, and just like can't anymore. So I'm definitely going to lean into
Life
that.
changes a lot, man. It changes a lot. It changed a lot for me, just perspective, and it really is the best. Like in my opinion, the best thing that has happened to me for sure. Just being able to see like little mini me's running around, seeing them evolve, and the first 6 months is not easy because you don't get any sleep.
No personality, just crying.
And then like, yeah. But after that, they're so much fun now. We're going to go to the park or do something now. It'll be fun. My in-laws just got a hot tub at their house. So we'll go to their hot tub and play around. Awesome. So it'll be fun.
There you go. Awesome. Yeah, I still use that excuse. My kid's 14, but I'm still like, oh yeah. He's got to go to bed. I can't really hang out today. So yeah, we'll wrap it up. I'll let Austin spit us out, and thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for coming on.
All right. Peace.